Hello students, I am Dr. Krupa Rasne, Professor and Head ENC Department, Jain College of Engineering, Belgavi. So now let us continue with the first module in power electronics, and this is the sixth video. We have done transistor last time and will continue with the transistor switching characteristics. So this is the 13th chapter that we have been doing and following the Rashid textbook, okay, as specified in the. So in the previous video, we have seen power transistors and we have seen the power BJT steady state characteristics, input, output as well as transfer characteristics. We have also seen how a transistor behaves like a switch, and we have also dealt with the various formulas associated with an CE configured transistor as a switch, and we have also seen some problems dealing with transistors. In this video, we'll be looking into BJT switching characteristics as well as power MOSFET device operation switching characteristics. And there are other two topics which will be dealing IGBT and di by dt and dV by dt in the forthcoming video. Now let us look at the switching characteristics of the transistor, that is BJT. Okay, so what we see in this figure is basically the transient model of BJT, and in this we call it with current gain, and this is a model with transconductance. Let's see what's the difference. So it's basically one and the same, but we know a transistor is basically made up of base, emitter and collector, right? And there are two junctions. One is the collector base junction and the other is base emitter junction. Now what do we mean by transient model? There are two states of the transistor. One is the steady state, that is the state when it is either in on state or it is in off state. Then what is transient state? Transient state is the state when it is going from on to off or off to on. Okay, so it is during these times, during the transient times, that these junctions will behave like a capacitor, and during the stable state they are as though these capacitances are not there. Now what are these capacitors? So we know that PN junction, okay, they are going to behave like a capacitor during transient actions. Okay, so we have got two junctions, so I will represent base and collector. So I will represent CB here, and base and emitter, so I'll represent CBE here. Then we know that the collector current is basically the summation of your beta IB into the leakage plus the leakage current, and this is the resistance RCE. So this is the model that I will represent of a transient model of a BJT using current gain. So here I have got beta IB, which is represented as the current gain. So instead of that, if I can represent it in transconductance model, means I will have base, okay, we also should represent RBE, that is the base emitter resistance, the base emitter capacitance. So similarly, collector base capacitance and your collector emitter resistance, like that. So here also we will have all those parameters, except here I am representing beta IB as GM into VB. What is GM? GM is IC by VBE. Are you getting this? So we know beta is what? IC by IB, right? So GM into VB, GM into VB will become IC. Getting? And what is IC? IC is nothing but beta times IB. Okay, so I will be getting GM VB here and R naught is equal to RCE. So this is the transient model, and we should remember one thing: these capacitors come into picture only during the transient state of this device, that is when it is going from on to off or off to on. Otherwise these capacitors are as though not in picture. So the forward bias PN junction exhibits two parallel capacitances, where one's a depletion layer capacitance and a diffusion capacitance. Okay, so when it is forward biased, it is like a two parallel capacitance, one is depletion and the other is diffusion. On the other hand, a reverse bias PN junction has only depletion capacitance. And under steady state, the capacitance do not play any role. However, under transient conditions, they influence turn on and turn off behavior of the transistor. That is, during turn on and turn off, they are going to pose problem for us in terms of switching times, means delay. So this is basically your switching times of a BJT. You can have a look here. We are representing three graphs. This is your base voltage that is given to a transistor of CE configuration behaving like a switch. So at the base, I'm going to give this kind of a pulse, which is going from minus V2 to V1, stays for some time, for KT time, and then again it will go low and stays off for 1 minus KT times. So this is basically T on and T off. Okay. Now another graph below that, I'm drawing the base current. Means once I give base voltage, obviously base current is going to flow. And since it's a diode, it's a unidirectional. So I will not have, when it is reverse biased, base current will not flow now, and it will flow only when it goes positive from 0 to V1, and it will immediately react to it. So you will get a base current and it will follow the input base voltage till here, and after this you can see the base current, base voltage becomes negative to minus V2. And what we see here is the base current also goes negative, stays there for some time, and then slowly becomes 0. Okay, and till it becomes 0, we are maintaining the reverse voltage minus VB minus V2 or base. Just have a look at this. We will explain it in step by step. So basically you will see that this is the turn on stage and this is the turn off stage, and hence switching times is nothing but trying to understand the device when it is switching on or when it is switching off. So we call it as turn on and turn off. So let us concentrate on only turn on. So in turn on, what happens is your base current will not flow till this point, okay, because the base emitter junction is reverse biased. And once a positive voltage is applied till V1 at the base, then the base current starts to increase. The idea is the transistor is behaving like a switch, and we expect, since the base current is being given positive, we want the transistor to turn on immediately. But does it turn on immediately? This is the collector current. The third graph is the collector current. So we know that if the transistor is turned on, the collector current has to increase. So what happens to the collector current? Even if the base current increases, because of the capacitances which we have seen, they come into picture during transient. So what is transient? This is the transient state, whereas this is the stable state. Again, this is the transient state. Now because this is a transient state going from 0 to IB1 base current, the collector current also will not respond immediately, because first of all the base emitter voltage has to be 0.7 volts, and then the capacitor has to charge to it. Okay, and then slowly it will start following the base current, okay, with a gain of beta. So what happens is there is a delay for the collector current to start responding even if the base current is available, and we represent that delay as TD. So TD is the time delay required for the collector current to respond after the base current starts going positive. Then it will start to rise based on the time constant of the capacitor, which base emitter capacitor, because we are turning on the device. And then what happens when this time for it to reach on top, okay, that is about 0.9 CS, from 0.1 to 0.9, we call that period as TR, or the rise time. After that, you will find that the base current has become stable, okay, steady, and the capacitor effects start going, and it will simply follow the base current. Are you getting this? Then what happens? We will see what happens during the negative, that is when it is turning off. So one thing we have seen, during turn on, the delay is, total delay is nothing but Td plus Tr. Td is the time delay for the transistor collector current to respond to the when the positive base current comes, and Tr is the rise time that is required for the current to rise to its maximum value. And then of course we have the on time, and here what we are going to see is the off time. We will do it in the next slide. So switching times of BJT, due to internal capacitance, the transistor does not turn on instantly. As the voltage VB rises from 0 to V1 and the base current also rises to IB1, the collector current does not respond immediately. There is a delay known as DD before any collector current flows. The delay is due to the time required to charge up the base emitter junction to the forward bias voltage VBE, which is 0.7 volts. The collector current rises to the steady state ICS, and this time it is called as the rise time. The base current is normally more than that required to saturate the transistor. We have already done in the previous video many problems, and I told you there is something called as an overdrive factor, and we always drive the base current even beyond the saturation, that we call it as hard saturation, just to ensure that the transistor doesn't come back to active region. Okay, so it is stably on. Because of that, the base current is more than that is required. As a result, excess minority carrier charges get stored in the base region. The higher the ODF, that is overdrive factor, the greater is the amount of extra charge stored in the base. This extra charge, which is called the saturating current, is proportional to the excess base drive, and the corresponding current is given by. So the saturating or excess current is given by IE, which is equal to IB, the base current, minus ICS upon beta, and that is given by ODF dot IB. IB is nothing but ODF times IBS, minus this becomes IBS. So I have converted all in terms of IBS. So I get IBS into ODF minus 1. This becomes the extra current, okay, and the corresponding charge, we call it as a saturating charge, extra charge, which gets stored into the base, that is given by this tau s into IE. And if I put this IE value here, I will get this expression for this saturating charge, that is tau s into IB ODF minus 1, where tau s is known as the storage time constant. So this is the effect it will have just because I am driving the transistor a little more than the saturation at the base. Now let us look at the switching times of BJT when it is turning off. So this is what is happening during turn off. I have just cut the previous waveform and I have brought it. So what is happening when it is turning off? The VB voltage is going from V1 to minus V2, and it remains for some time, and then again it becomes 0. Okay. So how will the base current react? The base current will follow the input voltage as it is. Okay. And it will go negative. Now why it should go negative is because the stored charge tries to dissipate the minority charges. Okay, so that you get this negative, and that is called as the stored charge. As long as the charge is getting removed, the time required, and in fact this negative current is going to help to remove the excess stored charge in the base. So the time required to remove the excess charge is called as the storage time. So even though the base current goes low and goes negative, you can see the collector current appears to continue to flow till all the charges, the extra stored charges, are removed. And after that, it will start responding to the negative current. That is, it will start to fall to 0. So obviously again it's a transient, and capacitors, the collector base capacitor comes into picture, and it is going to fall at a certain slope. We call that as TF, that is the fall time. And after that it becomes 0, you will see that the base current also takes some time to become 0 as it is following this TR. So this slope and this slope is almost same. And then VB should also be maintained negative for some more period to ensure that the transistor has turned off. For that I will say T0. So the turn off time basically consists of TS, TR. Okay, till here it is turn off, and TS plus TF. That's how we try to tell. So coming to this, when the input voltage is reversed from V1 to minus V2, the reverse current IB2 here, the reverse current, you'll see a reverse current flowing. In fact, it helps to discharge the base where extra charges are stored. Without a minus IB2, the saturating charge has to be removed entirely due to recombination, and the storage time TS would be longer. Once the extra charge is removed, the base emitter junction charges to the input voltage minus V2. Okay, so it will charge to minus V2 and the base current will fall to 0. TF depends upon, this TF depends upon the time constant which is determined by the reverse biased base emitter capacitance. Okay, so this is your turn off of transistor. So when you are asked for switching times, you should talk of both the turn on as well as the turn off. So during turn on, you will get two parameters, TD plus TR, that is the delay time plus the rise time. And during turn off, you will have two values, TS plus TF, that is the storage time and the fall time. So Rashid has explained these particular things, how the storage extra charge gets dissipated and how it moves. The operating charge profile during turn off goes from the storage charge to D. So this is just a diagrammatic representation of removing the storage charge by the negative base current. But T on is TD plus TR and T off is TS plus TF. So now let us look at the advantages and demerits of BJTs. Okay, so what we have seen now is basically the BJT switching characteristics, turn on and turn off. Coming to advantage and demerits, advantages of BJT, BJTs have high switching frequencies since their turn on and turn off time is low. So compared to other devices, they are low. The turn on losses of a BJT are also small because normally we use them for low power only. The VJT has turned on and turn off characteristics since base drive control is possible. Since both turn on and turn off is there, I can control the drive. BJT does not require commutation circuits, right? Because the base itself can turn off. It doesn't need any commutation circuit. So these are the advantages what we have seen. At least 4 advantages. That is, it has a high switching frequency, turn on loss is less, and since it is controlling turn on and turn off, you can use it for drive control. And since it does its own turn on and turn off, you don't need any commutation circuit. Coming to demerits, drive circuit of BJT is complex. It has the problem of charge storage which sets a limit on switching frequency. So the charge storage, because of driving the transistor into harder saturation, that creates a problem of charge storage, elimination time, and hence it sets a limit on switching frequency. It cannot be used in parallel operation due to a problem of negative temperature coefficient. This is the problem which is actually overcome in MOSFET. So the transistors, you remember, it cannot be used in parallel operation. So normally we use parallel operation when we want to divert the current, so that a particular transistor is not facing more current. So divert it by putting two parallel transistors. Well, this problem is going to enhance if I do that, because it has a negative temperature coefficient. Means what? As the current increases, the temperature decreases, or so that is actually a problem, and it will heat up the transistor, okay, in due time. Power MOSFETs. So coming to power MOSFETs, this is a device which stands for metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. There are basically two types of MOSFET. One is the depletion type MOSFET and the other is the enhancement type MOSFET. If you look at the depletion type MOSFET, we have already actually done this in the low power circuits, right, earlier semesters, but just a revision sort of. So in the depletion, what happens? This is the symbol of an N-channel depletion type MOSFET. So you can see the arrow at the source pointing inside, okay. Gate, drain and source are the terminals. So it consists of highly doped P substrate, okay, into which two blocks of heavily doped N-type material are diffused to form the source and drain. So there's a P substrate here, right? So there is a P substrate, and what they are going to do is they are going to diffuse N-type material for drain and source and get the terminals out. Okay. N channel is formed by diffusing source and drain. So an N channel will be formed by diffusing the source and drain, physical channel. A thin layer of silicon dioxide is grown over the entire surface and holes are cut in silicon dioxide to make contact with N-type blocks. So this is very similar what we have done, except we are going to have this silicon dioxide grown over the entire surface. The gate is also connected to a metal contact surface but remains insulated from the N channel by the silicon dioxide layer. So this SiO2 forms the barrier, and it results in an extremely high input impedance of the order of 10 to the power of 10 or to 15 to the power of 10 ohms for this area. So this is how your depletion type MOSFET. We don't have to look so much into detail, but you should be aware how it has been made. So looking at the structure of the N-channel depletion type, as I just explained, you have got the P-type substrate here, and this heavily doped N plus has been there diffused, and that forms the drain and source. And also N channel is also diffused here, okay. And we have the oxide layer which has been formed, silicon dioxide, and there is a metal placed here for the gate terminal. Okay, and whenever I apply basically the gate to source voltage, and we have the drain to source voltage. Okay, so when I apply, let's say VGS equal to 0, when this is 0 and when this is negative and when this is positive, we'll just look at what happens. When it is 0, this channel is there, and since I apply plus minus, the current is going to flow ID current through this channel, okay, and to the source like this. And now when I give a negative voltage, what happens? The electrons which are there, this is like a capacitor, so negative comes here, the electrons that are there in this channel are pushed to this side, okay, and the holes that are there in the P type will be attracted here, and because of that the recombination happens and the free electrons will be reduced and the current is going to reduce. Suppose I give VGS as positive, then what happens is the electrons from the P substrate will also be attracted here, so there will be more carriers of electrons and ID current will automatically increase. Okay, so this is how your depletion type MOSFET works. This is the symbol and representation of the structure. RD is basically the resistance that we connect along with VDD, and this is the gate source bias voltage that we apply. Since we are talking about N channel, I have the arrow showing inside. So this is N channel depletion type of MOSFET. So the same thing, when we apply VGS as 0, VDS is applied and current flows from the drain to source similar to a junction FET. When VGS is minus, the negative potential will tend to pressure the electrons towards the P substrate and attracts holes from the P-type substrate. Therefore, recombination occurs and will reduce the number of free electrons in the N channel for conduction. So, negative voltage on VGS will reduce the ID or drain current through the channel. Therefore, with increased negative gate voltage, ID is going to reduce. For positive values of VGS, additional electrons from P substrate will flow into the channel, right, and establish new carriers, which will result in an increase in drain current with positive voltages. Well, what we see here is the characteristics, drain and transfer characteristics of N-channel depletion type MOSFET. In the first graph, what we are able to see is basically the drain characteristics, which I just explained. And what we see is when VGS, see this is ID, drain current versus VDS. And these are the different curves that we get for different values of VGS. I told you VGS, if it is 0, then I get a certain IDS flowing between drain and source, because there is a physical N channel present already, and if VDD is plus minus, then current will flow from drain to source. If I make VGS positive, the drain current is going to increase, right? And if I make the VGS negative, and I'm going to have the drain current decreasing, as I explained to you earlier. And hence this particular region is called as the enhancement region, and this is called as the depletion region. If I draw the plot between transfer characteristics, that is between the drain current versus VGS. So when VGS is 0, it is showing IDSS as a certain value. If I go VGS which is negative, I will see that the drain current goes on decreasing. Okay, whereas if I go positive with VGS, the drain current will increase. So this is how the graph looks at for N-channel depletion type MOSFET. Let us look at enhancement type MOSFET. So what is the difference between depletion and enhancement? As the figure shows, almost everything is same, except if you see there is a P substrate and the drain and source will have the diffusion of highly doped N semiconductor, but there is no physical channel present here. Okay, so that is the difference between this. Why? If that is not there, what happens is when I give negative voltage, okay, there is okay, when I give 0 voltage, first of all, what happens is there is no physical channel here. So even if I give VDD, the VDD, the drain current cannot flow because it doesn't get any channel to flow through. Okay, this channel will be formed if I give positive. Now if I give VGS as positive, what happens is the holes which are here will move there, and the electrons from the substrate will try to move towards this polarity, that is positive, attracted towards the positive polarity. But because of this high insulation, the N electrons that are there, they cannot move beyond that, and they get the gather here, because of which a physical layer appears to form. Okay, a channel appears to form of N type, and this channel, and if this voltage, because it is there, and if an polarity of VDD like this is applied, there will be a channel current flowing through this particular thing. Okay, if I put negative, then of course the region will be depleted of electrons, right? If I put negative here, whatever electrons is there will be pushed there, and what positive will be pushed here. So there will be no further flow of current, right? So this is your enhancement type MOSFET. This is the basic symbol of this particular way of connecting it. Okay, and you can see there is an isolation here, right? And basically this is how the N-channel enhancement type MOSFET works. So just to go through briefly, if VGS is 0, voltage is applied between drain and source, then the absence of N-channel will result in a current of effectively 0 amperes. If VDS is set at some positive voltage and VGS is set at 0 volts, there are two reverse bias PN junction, the N doped regions and the P substrate, to oppose any significant flow of drain to source current. If both VDS and VGS have been set at some positive voltage, then positive potential at the gate will pressure the holes in the P substrate along the edge of silicon dioxide layer to leave the area and enter deeper region to P substrate. That means the holes near the gate will be pushed towards the P substrate because of positive they don't attract. However, the electrons in the P substrate will be attracted to the positive gate and accumulate in the region near the surface of silicon dioxide. The negative carriers will not be absorbed due to the insulating silicon dioxide layer, forming an inversion layer which results in current flow from drain to source. The level of VGS that results in significant increase in drain current is called the threshold voltage VT. At VGS as VGS increases, the density of free carriers will also increase, resulting in increased level of drain current. If VGS is constant, VDS is increased, the drain current will eventually reach a saturation level as occurred in a JFET. So this is your enhancement type MOSFET, and this is the characteristics of the enhancement type MOSFET. You can see the difference between enhancement and depletion. And what we see is basically here, this is the ID versus VDS and this is for VGS. So we will not have something where VGS is 0. This is cut off and we see only the positive values of VGS. And this is the region, this region, it acts like this, like a transistor cut off, and this will act like the saturation. Okay, and then this is the point which we call as a pinch off level, which moves from saturation to between saturation and this linear region. Okay, so we have got this linear region here, this is the saturation region, and we have the cutoff region. So just note that in saturation region VGS is positive and the current is quite high. Okay, this is ID versus VGS, and what it tells us is VGS reaches a value called as a threshold voltage VT. After that ID current will start to increase, okay, as VDD increases. So now let us move to what is power MOSFET. So what we saw just now was a MOSFET which you have done earlier semester, and we know there are two types, depletion and enhancement. Then which type is used in power MOSFET, because power MOSFETs are basically dealing with high power. So power MOSFETs are generally enhancement type only. We don't use them in depletion. The MOSFET is turned on when the voltage is applied between the gate and source. The MOSFET can be turned off by removing the gate to source voltage. So as simple as a transistor, except it is voltage operated. Thus a gate has control over the conduction of MOSFET. The turn on and turn off times of MOSFETs are very small. Hence they operate at very high frequencies. Hence MOSFETs are preferred in applications such as choppers and inverters. So that as compared to BJT, you can use MOSFETs for higher frequency applications. Since only voltage drive gate source is required, the drive circuits of MOSFETs are very simple, whereas the drive circuits of BJT are more complex. The paralleling of MOSFETs is easier due to their positive temperature coefficient. Hence, for dividing the current or taking the current in two different paths, we can have parallel MOSFETs, whereas we cannot have parallel BJTs, because of they have negative temperature coefficient and these have the positive temperature coefficient. But MOSFETs have high on-state resistance. Hence, for higher currents, losses in the MOSFETs are substantially increased. So this is the defect, or this is the problem with the MOSFETs. Hence, MOSFETs are used for low power applications. So this is basically the power MOSFET construction. What you can see basically here is you have got the N plus substrate, and on that an epitaxial N minus is grown on it, epitaxial growth, and the other side we have got a metal that is connected, and that forms the drain terminal where VDD gets connected. Okay, and on this n minus we have got this p minus that is diffused, and on this we have got this source n plus that has been diffused over p minus, and a metal will be silicon dioxide will be placed here and slightly etched, so and a metal is put here so that we can accommodate the gate, and this is the VGS that is applied between the source and the gate. Okay, so initially when gate voltage is 0, what happens is, and only VDD is applied, this positive voltage VDD, this it will keep this as a reverse bias and no channel will be formed. Okay, but when gate voltage is applied positive, it will induce these n minus, will induce this negative as well as this positive polarity. A negative channel will be formed, from because of which the drain current will now start to flow from drain to source. Okay, so this is how your power MOSFET construction is there. Let's briefly again explain what it is. So power MOSFETs have additional features to handle large powers. On the N plus substrate, high resistive N minus layer is epitaxially grown, as I told you, and the thickness of N minus layer determines the voltage blocking capability of the device. On the other side of N plus substrate, a metal layer is deposited to form the drain terminal. Now P minus regions are diffused in the epitaxial grown N minus layer. Further, N plus regions are diffused in the P minus region as shown. SiO2 layer is added, which is then etched so as to fit metallic source and gate terminals. A power MOSFET actually consists of a parallel connection of thousands of basic MOSFET cells on the same single chip of silicon. When gate circuit is 0 and VDD is present, N plus and P minus junctions are reverse biased and no current flows from drain to source. But when a gate terminal is made positive with respect to source, an electric field is established and electrons from N minus channel in the P minus region. Therefore, a current from drain to source is now established. Power MOSFET conduction is due to majority carriers, therefore time delays caused by removal of recombination of minority carriers is removed, unlike your transistor. Because the drift region of the on state voltage drop of MOSFET will increase. The thickness of the drift region determines the breakdown voltage of MOSFET. This is for your information. So this is the power MOSFET construction that we have seen, and as seen in a parasitic BJT will be formed since emitter base is shorted to source. It does not conduct. So this is not necessary but only an information. Now coming to the switching model of the MOSFET, you can see that compare it with the BJT. You have got the drain, the source and the gate. You have got the gate drain junction capacitor, and this is your gate source junction capacitor, and also we have VDS capacitor between drain and source. This is the RBE, right, and this is basically the parasitic bipolar, and this is the internal diode connection, and this actually forms the switching model of the MOSFET. Okay, so if you come directly to the switching model, we have gate, drain and source. These are the two capacitors, CGS and CGD, that is gate source and gate drain, and this is the drain source capacitor. Okay, this is RDS, drain source resistance, and this is GM VGS. So again, like transistor, you will be having, this is the transient model again. Hence, we are going to show these capacitors which come into picture then. Okay, and then let us see how. So basically, this is a switching waveforms and times for power MOSFET. So what we are going to see is, this is the gate voltage that has been applied, a pulse kind of voltage that is applied to the gate of the MOSFET, and this is how your VGS, the gate source voltage, responds. So what we see is TD here. This is basically the time required by the capacitance, input capacitance to the threshold voltage. So incidentally, we can see there are some electrodes or capacitance that come into picture during the transient state, and these capacitance are basically your CGS, your CDS and CGD. Okay, and this the input capacitance for the gate is CGS, and this is the time taken for it to respond and reach the value of threshold. And from here the time taken is the rise time for it to rise to the peak value, that is cross the pinch off voltage. And then here it will remain stable because now it is on, transient conditions are over. And now when you come to turn off, you see when it turns off it is expected to respond, but again it takes some time for the input capacitance to discharge to the pinch off voltage, and further that is called as TD off, and further we have got a fall time, that is for the input capacitance to discharge from this pinch off voltage to the threshold voltage. Okay, so you see that input capacitance comes into picture for both the turn on as well as the turn off of the MOSFET. So the switching characteristics is explained further. The switching model of MOSFETs is as shown in the figure. The various inter-electrode capacitance of the MOSFET, which cannot be ignored during high frequency switching, are represented by CGS, CGD and CDS. The switching waveforms are also shown. The turn-on time TD is the time that is required to charge the input capacitance to the threshold voltage level. The rise time is the gate, TR is the gate charging time for this threshold level to the full gate voltage VGSP. The turn off delay TD off is the time required for the input capacitance to discharge from overdriving the voltage V1 to the pinch off region. The fall time is the time required for the input capacitance to discharge from pinch off region to the threshold voltage. Thus, basically, switching on and off depends on the charging time of the input capacitance. Now, moving further, let us now compare, understanding the MOSFET as well as the BJT, and let us compare their performance. So, power MOSFETs have lower switching losses and hence it can be used for high frequency, but it has on-state resistance and conduction losses are more. Compared to a BJT, it has a higher switching loss but lower conduction loss. So at high frequency application, power MOSFET is obvious choice, but at lower operating frequency, BJT is superior. Next is MOSFET has positive temperature coefficient of resistance. This makes parallel operation of MOSFETs easy. If a MOSFET shares increased current initially, it heats up faster. Its resistance increases, and this increases resistance that causes the current to shift to other devices in parallel. A BJT is negative temperature coefficient, so current sharing resistors are necessary during parallel operation of BJTs. Third, in MOSFET, secondary breakdown does not occur because it has positive temperature coefficient, but BJT exhibits negative temperature coefficient, which results in secondary breakdown. So secondary breakdown is basically occurring because of localized heating and because it's a current operated device as well, and the electrons concentrate, heats up locally, and then the heat spreads to the entire device and spoils the device or damages the device. Next comparison is power MOSFETs are used with the higher voltage ratings, have more conduction loss as we have seen. And next is power MOSFETs have lower ratings compared to BJTs. Power MOSFETs are 5000 to 140 amperes, where BJTs can be 1200 to about 800 amperes. So with this, I would like to end the lecture, and let me thank you for your patient listening. If you have any questions, please do get back to me. Thank you again.